Have you ever heard about the cup of hot coffee story? The McDonald's being sued by the woman for hot coffee?
No.
So a woman was getting her coffee from a McDonald's drive-through,
right.
and a boiling cup of coffee was spilt on it, and it like third-degree burns all over her legs, like absolutely fucked, right?
Yeah.
So she sues McDonald's. Like historically, this has happened loads of times. So the payouts are like £5,000, £2,000, 500 quid often, like nothing. But this payout was 1.2 million quid. And so pricing psychologists started to understand, like, what the fuck happened? Why did you get paid out 1.2 million? So the attorney in the US, when they framed the damages claim, instead of saying like, you know, these are all the previous burns, this is how much they were paid out, you know, this is a really bad one, you know, we should be at double those ones. They said McDonald's sells the McDonald's sells $1.2 million worth of coffee a day globally. We think this payout is 1 day's worth of their global turnover. We think she should be paid in damages 1 day's worth of the global turnover, and that was their claim. I think they said like 3 to 4 days, so it was like $4 million payout claim based on their global turnover, all the coffee they sell, and the jurors awarded like half of that, and it was like the biggest award ever, and it was all about just changing the perception of what the award should be, trying to create a mental model in people's minds of the scale of McDonald's and the scale of their coffee sales and how many cups being sold all the time, and this like horrific incident that occurred.
So I've got this thing that I'm going to explore with Rory Sutherland on the next podcast, and it's kind of links to this. It's kind of I think when you go to a Michelin star restaurant or a high end restaurant, the toilet in the bogs always smells amazing, and the soap is always premium. So you know you're in a premium restaurant when you go into the toilet, you're like, oh my god, that yeah. I went to I know there's a place called Selena's, which is like these hostels around the world. Went to one in Lisbon, shithole, right? But they've premiumized it in interesting value creation ways. One way, as I was like, the toilet, the shower, it smells amazing, and the soap is super premium. So I was in this pretty bog standard hotel. It was a hostel, but I was like, oh my god, I felt premium. And all they've done is how easy it is. Value creation is literally just by putting good smelling soap and incense in the toilet, the perception goes up like this. And I really believe, like, if every amount of restaurants in like a kind of a mediocre restaurant in London, who could probably just by putting nicer smelling things in the bog could put up their prices and just increase the value. But it's just a genius hack.
So that's really interesting, yeah. And what's so funny about it is there's no logic to it.
Yeah, no logic.
And like in the set, like they've done tests on this, right? So originally these pricing psychologists, there's a whole industry on this, like a very big industry. All consulting firms make a fortune doing this stuff. But they did this test, and they were like, they wanted to see on price anchoring if there was a boomerang effect. So at what
do you mean by boomerang effect?
So like, if I went, so for instance. Let's take that claim we talked about earlier, the coffee claim, right?
Yeah.
If they'd asked for, instead of 4 days of global turnover for McDonald's coffee, what if they'd asked for 50 days? And they'd said, we want a $50 million payout. Would there be in the jurors' minds a backlash because it's a ridiculous ask? So the jurors would go, this is just ridiculous. We're going to go back to the other method, and we're going to look at previous claims. Right? So is there like a boomerang effect? So with price anchoring, it's like if I do a cross out from 500 down to $10. So
the boomerang effect is almost when it's too big. When
the anchoring is too big. No, but the question is there a boomerang effect? And what they found is there isn't a boomerang effect. So you can go as big as you want with the anchoring. You can go, we want a $500 billion claim. Okay? There's no boomerang effect. The incremental gain on your actual result goes down as you scale up. So like the difference between asking for 50 and asking for 200 billion might only be like 10 grand to the damages, because it's getting to the point where the incremental effect of the anchoring just becomes less and less, but there's not this backlash.
So say just again, this is for anyone negotiating. Life's a negotiation. Anchoring, and I think anchoring is basically to put it into 3-year-old terms. It's like say you want to sell something for £2. Start high in there, put them in the back of the court, right, with an amazing shot, and you basically say, well, like, I want it for £2. Let's start at 7, or maybe put even more. Like, let's anchor really high, fucking £20.
Yeah, right.
For example, like really push the anchor high,
saying.
Then they're going to push your anchor back very deeply, and then I always see it like a game of tennis. It's like they're going to push you to the back of the court and expect that, but then fucking don't do a drop shot back. Like really push them back, and then you will get into the middle. And I think it's it's interesting just for straight up negotiation, but also for framing it in people's minds of the perception of value. I just find it endlessly fascinating, and I think.
Same.
Yeah, just I think you could easily spruce up any restaurant by just making the bogs clear.
But people got really, so when this all started to come out about anchoring and all that.
When was this?
This is in the 80s. People got really worried about it in terms of damages and jurors doing damages, because attorneys are smart and they read and they have very expensive advice, and they basically people realize you can manipulate juries. So it's it becomes a huge problem because you can just anchor and do all these pricing techniques. So a lot of people started to think damages should be awarded by judges, not jurors. So it's like a whole thing. It's like a problem, basically. And you can use it, definitely use it to your advantage. The problem with supermarket selling is like there's too much opposing force on your anchoring. Like, well, firstly, there's no space to anchor. Right, so you can do a discount. That's it. You can go, oh, we used to be valued at this. Now you can buy us for that. That's an anchor, in a sense.
I meant more with the retailer.
Yeah.
So not when you're selling the product to the consumer from the retailer. I meant more when you're like negotiating marketing plans.
No, totally. But I'm just talking about in general. I'm just talking about the space. The problem with selling in supermarkets and all this pricing technique is that. There's so many opposing products to you that are valued cheaply.
Okay. Yes. It's almost like you are you're surrounded by the marketing you keep, and it's almost like if you're a sheep in a field of sheeps, like you have to be like sheeps. You have to price similar to that market. Whereas actually, I suppose what you've done, if Purdy and Fig's in a supermarket and you're saying, "Oh, I'm a sheep," and your next loads of sheep, then you kind of have to sell it, be a sheep and sell it cheap prices. Whereas what you've done here is you said, "Fuck that. We're not going to be a sheep. We're going to be a rhino," for example, like a completely different savannah, not in some shitty field in Lincoln. We're going to be in the South African savannas, and that's where actually the price of rhinos is fucking expensive. I don't know where I'm going with this, but the price of rhinos, it's scarce, it's valuable, it's much.
But
more
also,
expensive.
then you get the pricing extraction by doing that. So you're a rhino, and then you can actually spend money on creating an incredible product. Because the other thing that happens in supermarkets is. It's a lowest common denominator space to buy, all about price, right? Price per mil. So the product's made of shit because you have to make them of shit to make any margin on them. When you come out of that world, you suddenly have this like completely open opportunity where you can actually invest in making cleaning products with beauty ingredients, which is what we've done. Essential oils and glycerin and things that you just never see in cleaning products that are expensive. We do that because we have the margin profile on it to do it. So it's allowed us to create a whole other world for cleaning that didn't exist before. We always say we're like the Aesop of cleaning. We are pushing cleaning into a realm that it hasn't existed before.
Espressos is sponsored by supply chain software gurus Unleashed. It talks to your e-com and accounting software. It's helped islands cut admin time in half, get granular clarity on your margins, know where your stock is. Don't miss availability. Brands like Candy Kittens, Tiny Rebel, and Trip all use Unleashed, and so should you.